Hey there, I'm John.
And I'm Josh.
And we are ready to talk about Week 7, the results of this past week, 2021 college football season. Anything really to talk about besides the Tennessee fans throwing all their trash on the field?
Yeah, we'll get to that eventually, but let's go ahead and start with some of the more expected games.
Well, but before we even get to that, let me just ask you this.
Yeah, go for it.
Does it feel like this year's officiating has been
the worst
a little
ever.
subpar?
Oh, yeah.
I
general.
I know it's generally, there's always going to be bad calls, but it just seems consistent. The pass interference calls, it just seems like.
And honestly, one of my biggest takes is, and I said this multiple times this season, but never on video, I genuinely believe that officials should only have 1 minute to make a decision.
Yes.
They should go to the sideline and have 1 minute.
They can do the video review.
There was one game where it almost lasted like 6 minutes of them trying to figure out. I'm like, no. 1 minute, don't ruin the flow of the game. Just get it done. Otherwise, you're using VR to just kind of ruin everything.
Yeah. So just throwing that out there. It just seems a bit off. Maybe it's because of last year. I don't know. What? Okay, but let's jump into the game. So number 24, San Diego State faced San Jose State. And the thing that's amazing about this one is it went to overtime.
Yeah, I think, honestly, Mountain West has been pretty consistent in terms of most games aren't blowouts so far this season, no matter how good a team is or how bad a team is. Everybody seems to be competing at some level. So honestly, San Diego State did the job and they won the game.
They did.
So I'll give that to them. They're still undefeated. Hey,
19-13 was that one. Then Michigan State, they were number 10 in the country coming into this one, faced Indiana. We thought it would. I thought it would be a pretty good struggle.
Yeah, remember I said the Indiana's 3 losses were to, I believe, 3 top 10
really
teams
good teams
or something ridiculous like that. Michigan State also another top 10 team.
Yeah.
So good for Indiana in trying their absolute best. But I mean, Michigan State, they were able to pound it out, right?
20-15, remained undefeated. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then you had number 12 Oklahoma State, and they were facing number 25 Texas. Honestly, going into this one, I thought Texas was going to win it.
Yeah. Honestly, the score's closer than it actually was. I believe Texas scored there at the end.
They did.
It a little closer.
You're right. So 32-24.
So at first, it looked like Texas might win. Then Oklahoma State came back in a storming fashion.
Is that a normal story for Texas?
Yeah. There's a theme with Texas so far, which really sucks for Sarkisian, like him as a
gotta
coach.
Finish.
But
gotta finish.
I'm sure. You got to give him a little time to really set his standards. And
really, this is not his recruited team.
Exactly.
So that's a big
deal.
deal.
Oklahoma State also still undefeated. Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then you had number 20 Florida facing LSU. My goodness. Did anybody see this?
Can I just hot take real quick? I said a lot of mean things about Ed in the past. Okay. Good old Eddie from Mr. Marbles,
who's on his
from
way
LSU.
out.
I think LSU might have prematurely fired this man. They only have 2 losses this season.
Well, but if I understand, there are other issues at hand.
Maybe
besides
I hope
the losses.
So.
Yeah,
because I mean they did just win the national title. Well, his team did win a national title. Arguably, Joe Burrow won the national title.
Yes.
However many years ago that
sort
was,
of takes
3
you
years
back
ago.
to Cam Newton, reminiscent of Cam Newton.
Yeah. So either way, I'm just curious to see. I mean, whatever LSU decides to do, and if their players decide to keep playing hard for Ed on his last season here.
But hey, what about Florida? I mean,
not much to say.
Really disappointing.
Yeah.
I know if you're a Florida fan, you've got to be really disappointed in this season.
I agree with that.
High expectations, low output.
Yeah.
So, number 11 Kentucky faced number 1 Georgia in Athens. Okay, I'll tell you this: at halftime, it was only 14-7 Georgia.
Yeah.
30-13 was the end.
It's just tough. It's just really tough. I genuinely just have a hard time looking at or watching Georgia play and trying to find flaws in the way that they play.
Yeah.
Especially like first half, you can just kind of tell they're kind of figuring it out, right? They're seeing what the other team does. It's really just a game of chess, and Georgia's playing the long game while this other person is trying to throw all their pawns out and their queen out and everything.
They give it all they got
first
half,
and then they're done. It's just tough, right? And I don't think a team like Kentucky's defense is good, but their offense not so great. And I don't think a team is going to be able to beat Georgia without just a mind-boggling good offense.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
You have to be able to score on them consistently. So,
I agree with that. So Georgia remains undefeated, number 1, going strong. Number 19, BYU was at Baylor. And technically, this is an upset. BYU, after losing to Boise, comes into this one. How are they going to respond? Nope.
And I mean, here's the thing. Baylor's only loss is to an incredibly close game to an undefeated Oklahoma State, right?
Yep.
So going into this, I even said Baylor should probably be ranked.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're starting to see a lot of holes in BYU football. And a lot of those were exposed by Boise in that game last week, and then this week's game, obviously Baylor just exponentially exposed them. And they were like, "Hey, we already know what to do. We're going to show you how it's done."
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Baylor, they look good in that game.
They really did.
Number 5, Alabama was at Mississippi State, and so they're facing Mike Leach, and they won big
defensively, which
49-9,
a really good performance.
They really needed their defense to show up.
I thoroughly enjoyed watching them defensively. I really did. It was just a fun game, and then it never seemed like Alabama really had any worries or concerns. It was more of a statement game of, hey, we're not going anywhere just yet.
Yeah.
So good for Alabama.
Yeah. And Mississippi State's the team that beat Texas A&M that just beat Alabama.
So,
my goodness.
Love college football.
Crazy.
Yeah.
UCF was at number 3, Cincinnati. We'll bring it up Cincinnati every time. And Cincinnati,
it was over before it
their
started.
job.
Yeah, it was like 28-0 or something ridiculous.
56-21. And I think UCF scored most of theirs at the end as well.
Yeah, I know it would have been a different game if UCF was completely healthy going into this.
Yeah. So would a lot of their games.
Yeah, a lot of their games would have. So, good for Cincinnati. They did what they needed to do, and they need to keep winning in dominant fashion.
Yeah.
So, good for them.
Okay. Crazy game.
Oh, yeah.
Another one.
Mm-hmm.
Purdue at Iowa. Nobody saw this coming. Number 2, Iowa. Come on. As a matter of fact, we didn't even mention this game last week. and we didn't mention it because this was a no-brainer. No, it was not.
All right, here's what I had to say. We already knew
Purdue, that Iowa doesn't have an offense?
Yes, I was about to say. We already knew
the
only reason that Iowa was ranked this high is because their defense really is something else. They have a phenomenal defense. They still do after this game. Most of the scoring was because of offensive blunders.
Yeah.
So Purdue just kind of was like, hey, if you can stop them offensively all game long, all you have to do is be able to score on 1 or 2 plays and you win, right?
Yeah, and how pitiful. Iowa only scored 1 touchdown. I mean, it's just sad.
And it's just not a good look.
No.
I mean, thankfully, in reality, the Big Ten doesn't really need Iowa to look that great because they have Michigan State, and Ohio State all absolutely dominating most teams.
Penn State really
and Penn State,
pretty good too.
Honestly, it seems like kind of a fluke that Penn State even lost to Iowa at this point.
Yeah.
So, good for Purdue, I guess, and Iowa. Love your traditions, but you clearly didn't deserve that number 2 spot.
Nope. Number 18, Arizona State was at Utah. Number 18.
Yeah.
And Utah, the Utes showed up.
Yeah, everyone was asleep for this one, but 21-7, Arizona State was up 21-7.
Apparently Arizona State was asleep too.
Yeah. Everyone was up. Arizona State was up 21-7, and Utah clearly wins 35-21, so that's 28 consecutive points. Tough. Yeah, not much you can say about that one.
Absolutely. So, your upsets.
Yeah, we can go ahead and start with the one I got correct, because we'll probably have a couple words about the next game.
Yeah.
Auburn versus number 17 Arkansas, 38-23. Guys, Bo Nix is just looking, honestly, so much better than he used to under Brian Harsin's offense. I think him getting benched that one game was probably really good for him. I don't think Gus Malzahn ever had the guts to bench Bo Nix when he was struggling in games. And I think benching a quarterback and being like, hey, if you don't perform the way we expect you to perform, is a lot of times a great motivator to start reaching that next level. He made some phenomenal throws against Arkansas. Huge win for Auburn.
Huge upset, and really good for Auburn's program and for Harsin.
I know they only have 2 losses. They're not looking bad. No. Remember, those 2 losses are to
they seem to be improving consistently, which is really good.
One of the losses is to Georgia, and one of them is to another top team.
Yeah, well, everybody loses to Georgia.
Exactly. So. Yeah. All right, here we go.
The one you didn't get right.
Yeah, number 13, almost. Number 13, Ole Miss at Tennessee, 31-26. Everyone was rooting for Tennessee. Honestly, it really felt like everybody was like, come on, Tennessee, you can do this. And then they ruined it. absolutely ruined it. I mean, everything in me wanted them to lose, right? So we kind of stopped paying attention because we thought it was over. Tennessee somehow gets the ball back, and the game was somehow still going extremely late as night. We learned there was like a 20 to 25 minute delay because Tennessee fans are throwing trash, mustard, golf ball onto the field, and they had to clean it all up. Absolutely just such a poor display of sportsmanship by them as a whole. I mean, Lane Kiffer's not my favorite, but his comment at the end, I believe, was something along the lines of what somebody asked, like, "Are you excited about the win?" He said he didn't know if he was more excited about the win or not getting hit by anything else, or something along those lines. Here's what I had to say. I said this to you. I said this out loud a couple of times. Genuinely think they already did put the punishments towards Tennessee. It was like a $250,000 fine and potentially getting rid of alcohol if some things don't change. I think it could have even been worse. I already said, similar to Mexico versus USA in soccer, they threw trash at USA players, and guess what? The CONCACAF League said no fans for Mexico. No fans in the stadium. I think that's what should have happened. I really do think that it should have been something extremely drastic, being like, absolutely not. This is never okay. Never again. If you tell them they can't have fans at their next home game, I don't think it'll happen again. So we'll see what happens now. Tennessee fans, everybody hates you. You're just so classless. And that's about all I had to say about them. And your orange is the worst color in the absolute country. Now,
you sure there's nothing else to say?
Now that's all I have to say.
Okay. That was our week 7. Join us when we look at what's going to happen in week 8.